Okay, so the first question for this week is business development. Where do I start? And this is funny because a lot of people, and again, me when I started my career kind of in sales, you can understand the product, which is one of the most important things to do, and really kind of know everything about your own product and what it is, so that when you talk to someone else about it, you can actually knowledgeably talk on the topic. One of the other really important things is actually understand your clients and what their pain points are, and I'll touch on that, but also understand your competitor's position. And that's all the kind of the basics of what you're at before you start to pick up the phone. No worries, Simon. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And yes, so basically the first things you want to do when you're looking at business development, the most important thing for me, as well as all the background and stuff to really understand your market and who you are and what you're trying to offer, is actually understand who you're trying to target. So one of my customers is a graffiti removal business based out of Stockton-on-Tees. Really great company, love the team, love everything that they do. And actually a few of the questions today have kind of come from them. But basically they wanted to know, well, actually, look, if we want to do a big sales push for the business, where do we start? Excuse me. So the first thing that I would say to anyone is actually develop a list. And I quite literally mean a list. If you sell a generic product, one of the things that I've mentioned in the past is actually there's a great tip to download your LinkedIn contacts into a spreadsheet. You can sort it in terms of decision maker or people that you want to target versus people you're not interested in. And then actually turn it into a spreadsheet so that you've got a list. And I have a list of 6,000 decision makers from my kind of 18,000 connections. And that's the thing that when I'm ready to and when I want to, I quite literally start and start to go through my sales approach. So that's part of my business development. But in the interest of the graffiti removal business in Stockton, some of their clients are local authorities. And so step one would be get a list of every local authority in the UK. Next, it would be look at actually who's the correct person to contact within each local authority. So it might be a maintenance manager, it could be facilities, it could be whoever, but obviously it's your job to kind of find that out. And then instantly you've got a list of all of the organizations that you actually need to target or want to target. You actually have the name of the person, and that's like step one. So that's the really important thing. Actually, I'm going to draw this out. So business development, number one is who. So this again is actually quite literally making a list of everyone that you want to target, maybe within the next year for your business. The reason why it's really important to make a list is because one of the hardest things in sales is actually to track progress. So actually, if you have a spreadsheet, it's what I recommend, or you've got a CRM, somewhere where you can visually see them all. If you have obviously all the columns of different people, as you work through them, you can tick them off. And one of the things that, we always say to business owners or anyone who wants to track their kind of performance, it's all about something called lead action. So it's the amount of approaches that you make. And this is something and a great way to demonstrate that you never know who is ready to buy at any one time. But what you can do is demonstrate, look, I've approached 100 people this week. And as long as you, for one, know who you're going to target and actually go through it. There's also a sales tracker spreadsheet on the website, which is free. If you put in the code, I think it's still COVID-19 to download it for free. And what it also does is tell you the date since you last contacted them. And then over between 0 and 180 days, it goes green to red. And basically, if your things start to go red, it's a conditionally formatted kind of column. It's that reminder to then follow up through the list. And if these are your main kind of target market, that's the first thing to do, and work through a list. The next is how. So this is how do you actually contact them? The most important thing to think of here is for your target customer. So it could be the facilities manager in a council, in the graffiti example. It's how do they most want to be approached? So a lot of people don't like email. It's very it's very nice, it's very easy for the salesperson to send out LinkedIn messages and emails because it's almost a step removed. It's always harder to almost pick up the phone. But the important thing is to actually, how does your target customer like to, be approached? How do they like to do business? So this could be phone, email, LinkedIn, meeting. What will probably happen, because again, sales is a numbers game, is that you have to do your sales funnel, where you basically do a lot of approaches to then have it work through, and it will gradually kind of drop down. So you might have to do 100 of these to get 10 meetings. But the point is, you've got your structure of how you like to do it. And the trick, or the failure that a lot of people do, they only promote in the way that they're comfortable, not in the way that their target customer likes to do business. And that's a really important thing. And then the last one, what? And this is basically it's what I call the chatter plan. So in any business, in any form of kind of sales, it's the classic question you get asked all the time. What do you say? How do you pitch yourself in terms of your product or service? And actually doing this really well. What was interesting in the interview I did yesterday with David Smallman was actually to do with, he feels he's very good at closing, and it is a different kind of skill. But the way that I treat this is almost that if you were trying to chat someone up in a bar, it's the classic example of if you approach a guy or a girl and give it your best shot. If you completely mess it up, you can't go back to that same person half an hour later or the next week and try it again. It's just not going to work. You'd have to wait, say, 6 months before you kind of try again. With sales, it's exactly the same. So it's almost a case where if you have you need to perfect the chat-up line before you approach them. And this is where it all gets down to, have I got room on the screen? Yeah. All about understanding the customer. And this again is something we talk about all the time, and it's all about understanding the customer's pain points. So again, in the graffiti example, excuse me, if you now have a list of all of your local authorities in the country, you know who you're trying to target. So if you ring their switchboard and you ask to get put through to facilities or building management or whoever, find out who those people are. But then the trick is, it's having a good chat-up line and a good sales approach, which for one has to be short, because if it's too long, nobody's going to read it. It has to be friendly, so that you wouldn't mind receiving it. You're not going to offend anyone, but you have to cut right to the heart of the pain point that your prospective customer has, so that you can solve it. So for instance, again, in the graffiti example, you could say, "Hi Dave, I believe that you might have an issue with graffiti removal in the city centre, and it takes up a lot of your time. We've got something that can help, save you time and energy, and therefore save you costs. Can we have a chat?" And again, something we talk about in the book is actually how you want to give enough to get them interested, but you never want to tell them too much that they can give a definitive no. The idea is that you demonstrate knowledge and expertise on the topic, so you understand the customer, you understand what they're dealing with. And then the classic thing is as well, is that if that person genuinely has a problem with graffiti removal, but it could be business growth consultancy, it could be marketing, it could be legal services or employee tribunals or whatever it is. The point is, if you understand the pain of the customer and they genuinely have that need at the moment, they'll pick up the phone. And basically this is the main basis around business development, that you just repeat this cycle and you keep looking at how you put more businesses into the top of the sausage machine, as Peter likes to call it. And it's this process to constantly improve your understanding of your own offer, your competitors' offer, the market for in the book we call it winning in the customer's world. So for instance, it doesn't matter what you want and what you want to sell. The only thing that actually matters is, for the customer, what are they struggling with and how can you fix it?